Hello, friends, and welcome. We are live. Um, so we last time that we did this live show, we kind of just jumped into it, expecting that if you are here, you're watching this, you're a friend of the podcast or the blog. But hello and welcome. Um, my name is Marines.
Nicole Sweeney.
And we run we have a podcast together. We run a website. It is a pop culture and media sort of deal where we just watch a bunch of things and we talk about them, watch and read things. And we've been on a little bit of like a hiatus, like really just dipping our toes into things. But more recently, we've been inspired to start making things again. And here comes Agatha all along, which we were both very excited for. In the past, we have done these live shows to talk about MCU TV offerings. So we figured this would be a great time to bring back our live shows. That's what we're doing here today. We're going to be discussing and reacting to episode 3. So, full spoilers up until episode 3. Um, yeah. And we always like to start these little lives off the same way we start our podcast episodes off. And that is with a recap slash summary of the media that we are going to be discussing. So, Sweeney, what happened in episode 3?
Episode 3, Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials, begins where the second episode left off, with our coven newly arrived on the Witch's Road. Agatha explains to them and us, thanks bestie, how the road works. In order to reach the end of the road, they're going to face a bunch of trials related to the different forms of witchcraft. This is a problem due to how the coven has been cut off from their powers in different ways, and they have one like obviously non-magical person. So how are we going to do that? The answer is like analog magic. The answer was like not super explanatory to me in this moment, but I was like, I trust that we'll get there when we get there.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, craft. I don't know. But also during this sort of opening bout of infighting, which I imagine is going to be sort of like a plot vehicle throughout, where we at every certain intervals we have to stop and bicker for a little bit before we can advance. During that, the rest of the coven learned about the sigil hiding the teen boy's identity. So it is clearly hiding his identity from everybody. I wasn't sure if it was maybe just Agatha, but anyway. Eventually, they rally the whole gang, including Sharon, who is rightfully a little bit annoyed at facing yet another magical abduction, but she's also like kind of chill about it, probably because this physical abduction is clearly less terrible than the psychological one was. They continue along the road, and a big, fancy suburban McMansion appears out of nowhere. The coven enters the house. Only Sharon has the courtesy to ring the bell. This is a Sharon Stan account. I'm realizing I keep telling you what Sharon specifically is up to, and that's because I love her. She's got manners. She rings the bell. Anyway, they all go inside the house, and upon entering, they immediately get a wardrobe change to match their new location. Bestie Sharon quietly asks the coven if they've seen Huge Little Lies, giving us the TV comp a la WandaVision. They find a card that looks like a wedding invitation, and it contains a riddle. The answer to the riddle is wine. Sharon's the one who gets it. We love her.
This really is a whole Stan recap.
Yeah, I am adding more Sharon details as I go than what I actually wrote down in my notes. I'm just remembering Sharon's contributions to the episode. Anyway, what do you know? There's wine on the coffee table behind them. Everybody has to drink up, except Teen Boy, who is underage, and Agatha, who only pretends to drink but secretly dumps her wine out. While they're all drinking their wine and mulling about the house, Jennifer, the potions witch, pulls the teen boy aside and tells him to be wary of Agatha because she is shady. So shady, in fact, that she is rumored to have traded her own son to get the Darkhold. And nobody knows what happened to the boy. He might even be an agent of Mephisto. Teen Boy looks nervous in a way that could mean any of a million things when all is revealed. A few minutes later, Sharon who is the first to drink, gets very, very puffy faced. And shortly the others do as well, except, of course, Agatha and Teen Boy. Agatha's kind of like running around trying to be like, yeah, what do we do? They start panicking, but the swelling eventually goes down. And while they're trying to figure out like what the wine was poisoned with exactly, they realize that Agatha never drank because the glass magically refilled, and all the other glasses do too, until she like finally accepts that she has to join them and she drinks up. Our potions witch Jennifer figures out what they've been poisoned with and warns of the upcoming symptoms, which are hallucinations and eventually death. There's also a timer to tell them how long they have to come up with a cure. Jennifer, before being bound, could have like cured them, like sort of a wave of her hand kind of situation, but she can't. The witchcraft, the analog magic, is that she has to brew a concoction with stuff that they can find in the house. So they all split off in search of the stuff that Jennifer needs, and everybody has some sort of like horrific hallucination in the process. Sharon is actually, she faints from her hallucination of the hex before they go, so she's down for the count for the rest of the episode. Patty Lapone sees her younger self in like the Renaissance era. Jen sees a doctor trying to force her underwater. Alice sees her mom about to commit suicide, and Agatha, whose hallucination happens last, like right as they're like trying to wrap this thing up, her hallucination is that she hears a baby crying, and then she goes to like the cradle, and the Darkhold is inside. Anyway, they are eventually able to concoct the potion with like seconds to spare. Everybody drinks it, and then they go and try to force it down Sharon's throat. She's like knocked out on the table. So everybody drinks it. They're cured like just in the nick of time, and then an oven pops open, and everybody's like, what do we do with that? But then the house is like being like flooded. So they're like, well, shit, we actually have to go. And so they start, getting in the crawling into the oven. A couple of them grab Bestie Sharon off the table. And they crawl through the oven and emerge back on the road, except Sharon is dead. And that's where we tragically end the episode.
Womp, womp, womp. We'll have lots of RIP Sharon feelings, I am sure. But we'll start where we always start. Did you like this episode? How'd you feel about it?
I love the show. I feel like the show would have to take like a really, really hard left at this point for that answer to my answer to that question to be no. Like I'm so in, I'm so down. This episode, however, was spooky. It was very spooky. I messaged, I feel like I should share a screenshot of our Discord Slack because you are the noted like baby about scary things, but
Yes.
to be clear, that's only like the bar is on the floor, so like I am less of a baby about it than you are, but only just barely. So I was watching it last night, messaging you to be like, maybe don't start this now if you haven't already, because I'm genuinely like scared. So if you have already started, get up and turn all the lights on or something.
I was actually sleeping when you were messaging me this morning. When I woke up, I was like, perfect. I watched it this morning, but it was spooky. I did also really like it, and I agree that it would have to kind of like, jump the shark, and maybe not even that, honestly, to get me to not enjoy this. I will say I do think I do have like a few more quibbles with this episode, just like I don't know, like little things I would wish I would have seen more of, and most of it is like based on like I wish we had more time in the episode. Like I think especially like this, it feels like it's set up this thing, right? We're going to go through the trials, which each of the witches in the coven, and they've got to prove their skills. But as an episode that like kind of you would think centered Jennifer in like that, like it really didn't. We really learn more about her. And there's that moment at the end where Agatha is like giving her a pep talk and is like, I hated you, but it's because you're important in the work you do. And I'm sitting there going, what work?
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Like, so there's stuff that I wish I had more of, and I felt that a little more keenly in this episode, but still like overall I'm loving this experience. So
that's like I agree. Anytime that your critique is what if more,
You know you're on the right track, right?
Yeah.
If I were like, what if less then?
Then I'd be like, listen.
I think the one of the big things that happened this episode, right, is that we're getting all of these like nods and hints to who is Teen Boy.
Mhm.
And you know, all of the hints land very, very much like anvils that this could be Agatha's son. Um, and how do you feel about that? We said in our first live stream that we are just gonna like enjoy this and not worry too much about making guesses and like get all of the
Mhm.
Mephisto of it all, because that's what happened with WandaVision, which I think is hilarious because Mephisto actually mentioned in the
Actually mentioned here. Yeah. Yes. WandaVision, we get to the end and it's like, why
yeah.
is he in it? He's not. Like, I don't know. I don't know where you guys got that from, but um, uh, I don't know. I mean, it does feel it feels like too obvious.
Yeah,
Like it
sure.
just feels too obvious. Um uh like it feels like there's got to be slightly more to it than just that. My thought with the like his reaction to being told was that there's like the was that it is that he's her son, but there's like the more is like he knows that and he's got some sort of agenda surrounding that. Like that to me feels like the way that I don't know. What do you think? What's the vibe you're getting?
I
Since
think
you're committing us at 10 minutes into making bold predictions.
not predictions. This is your
How else was I supposed to answer that question? But as a predictive
no, it's more like your reaction.
What do you mean? My reaction? Yes, I saw it. I too saw the show making anvil-like nods to the idea that Teen Boy is her son.
I I feel like I had like a moment of I went through so many emotions in the
Yeah.
moment of like, wait, that was like really obvious. Like in the moment I was like, ooh, could it be? And then like the more and more it kept like sort of like hinting and nudging in that way, right? Like a little bit later, Teen Boy is like, I'll drink the wine. And Agatha's like, no. And she jumps up to like protect him. And I'm like, oh, show, are you doing much? Like, what's going on? But then as I started to think about like, okay, is it doing too much? I don't know. Is it like misdirection by misdirecting us?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Miriam in the chat points out that throwing anvils, but also making the teen mention his parents 8 million times, which does make me feel like if he is her son, that there is going to be some sort of like he knows and has like I don't know, like that there's something there, that there's something to that of the frequency with which he's bringing up his parents,
yeah.
that also has some greater meaning.
I also feel like the other like thing that I've heard very widely was either that this was Agatha's son or that it's Wanda's son, that it's Billy.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what I heard before the show was ever announced. And because the show was playing on the like in the promotional material, they were playing on the like the sigil thing. Like even in interviews with the cast, they would like share on like TikTok and stuff. They would do interviews with the cast where they would say his name and like other members of the cast would have it like garbled and whatever. So
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. But the thing to me though is that like either one of those options then becomes really obvious because they're the two
Right.
things that we're guessing. So at like what point is it like a bunch of anvils or is it like we're anticipating? So I don't know. I kept going like round and round in terms of like where the story is leading us. And to be honest, I think that regardless of who this Teen Boy ends up being, that whatever if there is going to be a twist, that it's not necessarily going to be like you said like his identity, but more like some other thing, right? Some other like agenda or some other thing that's
Right.
happening that is not necessarily going to be who is this kid.
Yeah. My other sort of like big thought reaction is that Agatha seems way too surprised by the road for somebody who has allegedly walked the road before. Just
This was
while we're in like wild speculative territory about like what what reveals await us.
and again, this was me going, is it like the story and the writing, or is there something happening here? I will say that like Agatha, yes, like constantly like um even her like not drinking the wine and then being like, well, why do I gotta? Like, girl, don't you know what's going
Don't
on
you
here?
know what? Don't you know? Don't you know about this?
But also there were a few reactions from the witches, like when the house appears, they're like, was that there before? Have none of you seen magic? What's going on here? Some of these reactions are a little weird to me. um this episode, we talked a little bit about this last week in terms of how, the first couple of episodes did a really good job sort of continuing the WandaVision line, but then setting up its own thing. So I thought that this was interesting because it very much is clearly doing its own thing, right? Like we've got the road and we've got the trials that they have to go through, but they enter this house and there was like an immediate sort of nod to TV again,
Yeah.
with the like huge little lies and like very Stepford Wives of it all. Just the look and the feel of it obviously was doing some work there to nod to TV. So I thought that that was pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, I like that as a through line from
Yes.
WandaVision too, of like it's a different thing. We're not trapped in a TV show in the same way, but there is still just like nudges to that.
Yeah. And I like that it is just a nudge. There's not really anything else going on. It's just like and I mean, I think they did enough work sort of connecting it to like that this would be like Jennifer's sort of like hell, is trapped in this house and like looking like one of her clients and sort of surrounded by her, big little lie of her products, and having to face that. So like it had a good enough connection, but it still felt like just like a little nod to
Yeah.
where
Yes.
this came from. So
Without being like heavy-handed.
yes. Each of our characters also gets like a little flashback scene, the spooky part of it all for
Yeah,
you.
the spooky part.
I say for you, it's not that it wasn't spooky for me, but I was well warned. So
Yeah,
anything
sure.
that could get spooky, I was just like la la la.
I think it just like I was just not properly braced, for how spooky Jen's flashback in particular, like Jen's hallucination was the one that I was like, I don't like this. Like I am genuinely uncomfortable sitting alone in my home in the dark right now. I want to get up and go turn all the lights on.
Yeah, I think that one also, I don't know, there was like an emotional component to it all also, like her mom and like the screaming and like I definitely, when the hallucinations started, I was just kind of like but any of them, other ones that stood out to you, that you have questions about, like anything made you curious?
I mean, to me it feels like I assume that there will be some sort of payoff for that set. Like it felt like setup. Like all of those things were teasing details about these characters. If none of those things come up again later, I will be really irritated. That would be annoying to me. But this feels very much, it's like Chekhov's gun. We're still in the first half.
Yes. Patty LuPone is the one that I am the most curious about, just because you said that it was like her, like a version.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what it was. So if anybody has feedback on my description of her hallucination, I welcome it. You're probably right. I stand corrected.
It could have been. I mean, I don't have any other theories. I don't know what was going on there, but I think also like she had a few moments throughout the episode that she would like blurt something out, or
Oh
she
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was like that whole bit was in Italian, and later on she's speaking Italian and talking about how they're all dead. So there's something like obviously, I mean, all of these witches are here because something's wrong, but
Right.
like I don't know, her mystery is the one that I find the most intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, truly it was the thing that like felt the most confusing, I guess, in
Yes,
flashback mode, where I was like, I have no idea what is going on here.
yes. Um, Something that we did see with our very own eyes, but that I'm going
Mm,
to refuse to believe.
yeah. See, I've seen a lot of characters with my very own eyes in the MCU, okay?
Die.
No.
This actually reminds me, I like rewatched the beginning bit of episode 1. And I didn't catch it in my first watch because I didn't like as we're going and she's investigating the body. We don't realize immediately that it's Wanda. Like you
Uh-huh.
get a piece of that like when you start to see like the fingertips or whatever, but it's not confirmed until the end of the episode. But there's
Right.
a bit when she's heading towards the body that she asks her, like, is she really dead? And her goes, yeah, yeah, like she's like definitely dead. And Wanda goes, well, you never know. Or sorry,
Agatha.
Agatha goes, well, you never know. And she gives a little wink. And then
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
we see what's
uh-huh.
going on. And I was like, yeah, bring Wanda back. Bring Wanda back. I don't care what magic you gotta use. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Anyways,
Yep.
you're really keeping that energy for Mrs. Hart,
Yeah.
Sharon. I love that you were calling her proper name throughout this and not her hex name. Very
Yeah.
respectful.
Well, yeah, I have to be respectful of my earth magic queen, um, Sharon. That's also
Uh,
my grandma's name, so yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah. I know.
I don't believe she's dead. She can't. She
No.
can't be dead.
No. No. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She's not her she's not they haven't told a whole story with her character yet.
Yeah.
What was that? We're not done. We're not done there. I don't believe it. Um I Miriam says I would very much prefer her not to be. Yeah, that's
Correct.
correct. Does that mean that you believe she is dead? The way that you're phrasing that makes me concerned that you are not with us. That you're accepting what you saw with your own
No,
eyes.
no, we're not accepting it. There's got to be
Are
more.
they going to weekend at Bernie's? I mean, she's part of the coven, okay? And
Come.
she's gotta come. They gotta keep her with. What are you gonna do? I mean, look, they had to find a reason to get Rio back on the board. Like
Yeah.
that also is clearly like, bringing Mrs. Hart with means that like there's like that sort of incomplete deal. But I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like we're not done with that character. And they did too much to make her likable, to make her endearing for me to
Yes.
feel like they were done with the character. I mean, to go back to like the Wanda of it all, like that is a situation where I'm like, you gave a character a like a full and complete arc. Like I'll watch anything that they want to like bring that character back for.
Mhm.
They gave her a full and complete arc, and they also got to a position where she was so insanely powerful that they actually just had to take her off the board. Like the real situation with Wanda is she actually needed to be removed from the board, and unlike Carol, they couldn't send her to space. Like
Yeah.
she's earthbound, and just too powerful. So you had to take her out somehow or other. Sharon doesn't have that problem, okay? So bring her back. And worried she might be dead, and like a catalyst for something boo hiss. The fridging of Sharon? No. No. No, I reject this. I reject this. I'm gonna be so sad.
I
I'm gonna
know.
be so sad.
There were so many things. I'm still hung up on the fact that like the whole like Black Heart, Green Witch sort of thing. That there are so many like little ties to this character of Mrs. Hart, that felt like it wasn't just a joke, but that there might be something else there. This is my thing that I'm like, maybe I'm reading too much into.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I agree with you that there feels like that arc is not done. Like to bring that character back, and then like bring her to the witch's road, that there might be something else there. Like it does that mean like full resurrection? I don't know. Does it mean Weekend at Bernie's? I don't know. Does it mean like zombie? Like if you die in the road, you become a zombie or a monster? I don't know, but
maybe it's their next trial.
Their next trial. They got to outrun the corpse of Mrs. Hart.
No, they got to bring her back. No. They got to bring her back.
That too.
Please.
He was so funny in this episode too, and like such. And I also think that like you lose something by not having the straight man there.
Oh yeah, yes.
Like this whole thing. There's like a levity, a comedic levity, and there's like, you know, the person you have to explain things to.
That's what I was really about to say. That's like the big thing that they lose is their like number one source of info dumping. There's just all the things that she doesn't know, that it just does not make sense for other characters to not know. Yes. She's like very, very convenient for plot purposes.
Especially because Teen Boy knows everything.
Yes,
he knows the most. Like
he knows the most.
Explain it to him,
right? Right.
That's our pitch. That's why Mrs. Hart.
In conclusion,
Mrs.
Hart better not be dead.
Bring her back.
Bring her back. My answer, my answer to whether or not I like this episode, was predicated entirely on my deep conviction that her death was a lie.
And we're gonna have to redo if like she spends the rest of the season
run it back. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of, I'm sure I have mentioned this somewhere on, you know, podcast, whatever, I don't know, but back when I first watched Game of Thrones, I had I watched it on, like, I had the first couple seasons in sort of box set DVDs, and like was completely divorced from the larger like discourse around it. Like I was aware that it was a show that people were watching. I didn't know anything about it but like that it was like a popular show. So I had no information going into this, but I had been gifted the first two seasons, right before the third season started. And when I got to the end of, I think it's the 9th episode where Ned is beheaded, I like genuinely, I was fully convinced. I was like, okay, so dream sequence, we're going to start the next episode. Like I was like maybe 10 minutes into the next episode before I was like, oh, he's like dead. What do you mean? Like I just was like, he's not dead. Continue. Next episode. Anyway, so that's
moment like that with Game of Thrones was actually Lady. I was like, I actually put the whole series away, and I did not pick it up until we started recapping it, and I was like, I guess I'll come back to this. But yes, very much like, oh, she's dead. No, I gotta go. I got to go.
It's not even that it was like, I gotta go. It's just the certainty that I felt that this character was not dead. The certainty that I felt that I was just seeing showrunner antics, and when I turned on the next episode, there would be some magical reason for why he's not dead.
I think also to our theory is that she's been in a lot of the promo. Like she's been like, you know, in a way that I'm like, certainly some, like she is in more of this.
Come on. You didn't make her sit through all those press junkets. You didn't make her lock her in hotel rooms for 8 hours to only have her be in 3 episodes. Come on.
We're I hope we've convinced everybody else, because we're convinced. So
yeah.
The only
and if we're wrong, I hope that we've convinced get back in the editing bay. That's what you gotta do.
The promo. Yeah, okay. Look at, we've convinced one person. So.
Our work here is done.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention and talk about was like the look and the feel of the episode. I mean, we did talk a little bit about like, the Big Little Lies of it all and like stepping into the house, but I just wanted to at least shout out how cool the Witch's Road looked
Yeah.
to me, and like the like purpley twilight of it all, which very on theme.
Yes.
Love that. And the like difference of like stepping into the house and it all being bright and their costumes changed and like that whole thing played really really well.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's doing costumes on this show, but they must be having a blast because I'm having a blast watching it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yes. Also, through line from WandaVision, I feel like that show also had really incredible commitment to costuming,
yes,
and love that about this show. I also love, there's no way to talk about this without sort of acknowledging the broader MCU of it all. A kind of an ongoing complaint of things over the last few years has been the number of things that you're watching and you feel like not a single person has touched an object in
yeah,
10 minutes, which like that really is like beef number one that I have with that last Ant-Man movie, is that I'm just like, they didn't interact with a single object. And that, yes, practical sets, it's very very clear that they're using practical sets and they're in physical space, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference to see people interfacing with stuff.
mm-hmm. I actually read an interview. It was with the showrunner, and they were talking about like the practical set of it all, and how they made the set like modular, so they could just like take pieces of, like the trees and stuff, and like move so that, like they can create like different sections of the road, but it was all from like these same pieces, and it's just like rearranging like a puzzle. So you felt like you were walking, but that they could use a practical set that didn't have to be like miles long.
Right. Well, and that also like fits with the vibe of the idea that you would get sort of like, I don't know, a sense of deja vu of like, I've seen that tree before. Like that still tracks. That feels
like you're on a
consistent.
magic road. It's
not. You might have seen that tree before. I don't know.
The road is tricking you.
Yeah. Yes.
Anything else from this episode, or reactions, thoughts that we didn't cover?
I mean, I'm now really distressed because it just had not occurred to me. Like I just am so convinced that Sharon's alive once again. So I'm really
actually have no more thoughts. Someone put forth the idea that she could be really dead.
And I'm gonna need 4 to 5 business days to recover from that, if true. So, we'll see.
Amazing. All right.
Maybe any little like predictions corner, any other like thoughts, expectations
corner. I think a really easy prediction is like who's next, whose trial is next, like
okay
next, I don't know showed anything
no
like promos or anything, but I don't know.
The only like promotional stuff that I have seen for this show is like TikTok type stuff. I've seen a lot of sort of like 2-minute interview clips with the cast, and those are like famously for Marvel shows, they tell you nothing. Like it's just that's just like watching people be fun together. Although I have learned that Patti LuPone does not give a shit about Marvel's rules. And she just says whatever.
That's been my favorite part of this, is like finding out that Patti LuPone does not give a shit about Marvel or Disney's rules, and she's gonna say what she wants to say, and nobody can stop her.
Nobody can stop her. What are you gonna who's gonna stop her? Who's gonna stop Patti LuPone? Get out of here. Nobody. She can do whatever she can do whatever she wants. We mentioned it last week, but that clip where she like reveals that it's a musical, like the way that Catherine Hahn and the kid like look at her, there's this like a reference of like, wow, you can just do that.
Wu's trial is next, I believe. It's a 70s vibe associated with her mother and the rock vibe. That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be my guess just because of where we left her story off. It felt like that was I don't know, the one that I would have guessed. I'm very excited to see the 70s vibe though and see like
Yes.
what the set and the costumes are for all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense too, because I feel like she's the character whose context, like we have the most context for her, or like I don't know, like I feel like we have sufficient context already to get into it. Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, we were just talking about it, but the hallucinations that we saw for both Jen and Patty LuPone were like I had to look up. I mean, to be clear, that's Sasha Zameda to me. I also had to look up her name in order to do my little recap. I couldn't just refer to all of these people as their names. But anyway, yeah, I feel like the both of them. We need like one or two new little things dropped maybe before we get to
Before we like build to their trial.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Greenwich has to be last.
Right, because yeah.
Is going on, or like next to last. So yeah.
Patty, yes. Do you see the yeah? Yes.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza.
Good.
I love that. Anything with Patty just being Patty, amazing. The interviews too, where they ask her about like Marvel stuff, and she's like, "I don't know anything about Marvel.
I don't care.
I don't do any research or like literally no."
I saw the scripts for this and probably the paycheck for this and was like, yeah, sure. Sounds fun.
Sign me up.
Patty and Aubrey did a I forget what it's called, but the Hot Ones that doesn't have Sean Evans, that's just like two celebrities. And it's every minute of it is gold, but the best part is Patty LuPone gets asked to either apologize to Madonna or eat a death wing, and she eats the death wing and is like, "Fuck you, Madonna." And Aubrey is clearly like, "This is the greatest woman I've ever known." Everything about that moment it's so good. So anyway, now we're just talking about promotional material for the show. Everybody's done great work promoting the show.
Clear though, like as we said in the beginning, that it would take a lot to like, derail our enjoyment of this. And part of that is that the cast is amazing. The cast is wonderful. So we're all in.
The cast is delightful, and like I think I'm frozen. The cast is delightful, and their like rapport with one another is like very, very good. They have such strong and powerful chemistry that I'm like, yeah, whatever. Even if the writing falls off, I don't care. I'll watch you ladies hang out.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, well, I don't think I can get my camera to come back, so I think my camera's staying.
Well, now for real, I
gotta go.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. We'll be back same time next week to talk about episode 4. So come ready to discuss all of your feelings, all of your prediction corners as well. If you guys are into that, we are just going with the flow this year.
We're making promises 1 week at a time.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.